recently wrote a short article regarding a couple of commands available on Cisco IOS, the config archive and configure replace commands, which when used making changes can prove really useful should you ever run into any unforeseen problems that you then need to roll back from. So I thought, why not put together a quick demonstration working with these commands, showing you how to set it up. I'm going to simulate making some random changes and then using the configure replace command to roll back from those changes in a pretty non-disruptive way. So in this lab, I've basically simulated a host PC with a server separated by a router that we will be making the changes on. And I've currently got the host PC here on the left just running a continuous ping to the server. We're going to first see if archiving has been enabled. And the command to do that is show archive. And as you can see, the archive is not currently enabled. So we're going to jump in and configure the archiving. We'll set the router's local file system as the path where we'll save the configuration files. We'll tell the router to automatically create a new archive file every 5 minutes. And also every time we, the network administrator, commit any changes to memory using the write memory or copy run start commands. So first we'll jump into configure terminal and we're going to go into the archive sub configuration commands. First we're going to set the path. In this case I'm just going to save it to /0 and I'm just going to append a meaningful name, in this case archive. I'll tell the archive to automatically create a new entry every 5 minutes, and also when I commit any changes to memory myself. Then we'll come out of the archive configuration, and now if I look at the archive, show, you can see that it's now up and running. It will allow you to save 10 different entries, and it's already created the first one. There's the location with the name that we created, a timestamp, and it's telling us that this is the most recent file. Now, if we were to make any changes and commit them to memory ourselves using the write memory or copy run start, at the same time as saving those changes, the archive will also make a copy. And if we go back into the archive, we'll see now that there is a new archive file which was created when we saved our changes. Even if you forget to save your changes, the router will automatically add another file to the archive after the time that we specified earlier when we set up the config archive. So I've allowed a bit of time to pass. Show run, show archive. And here you can see a third configuration archive file has now been created, even though we did not issue the commands write mem or copy run start. So now that we have archiving set up and working, let's see it in action. For example, we might make changes to CDP. Interface 0/0, commit those changes, copy run start, write mem, show archive. As you can see, we've had a couple new entries added since we've made a few, we've saved a few changes ourselves. So access, let's create an access list, access group, 1 in. Exit. Again, maybe we'll save that change. Perhaps we'll configure some IP routes. Exit, and then we'll copy run star. Let's create one more access list. So T, exit, and just as you're finishing your work, you get that call from your IT service desk telling you they're starting to get reports that people are having trouble accessing the server. So we jump on and we can see that the pings are now timing out. In fact, if I try and restart the ping, they'll just fail. So somewhere in those changes we broke the connectivity. So how do we use the config replace command to help us get out of this? Well, first let's take a look at the archive. We'll see we've got several entries, that being the most recent. We're not 100% sure what changes may have introduced the issue, so we could theoretically roll back one by one. So perhaps let's try reapplying the second from last archive file. And the way we do that is simply to run the command configure replace, specifying the file in question, the path and the file. It will ask us if we're sure and we want to proceed, which we do, and then we wait. And that's the first archive file rolled back. We could go back in and check, see if that resolved our issue, which unfortunately it hasn't. But that's okay, we can jump back into our router and let's take a look and say, okay, that didn't fix it. So let's perhaps try the earlier archive file. And in this case, let's try this one. Yes, we do. Give it a moment. Let's go back. And hey presto, whatever changes were made after that archive file was created was what introduced the problem. And that is really how we use the configure archive and the configure replace commands to help us when working on configuration changes, which gives us a very easy rollback method that's not very disruptive